Welcome to today's Torah Portion Re'eh, which Re'eh means simply to see, but not so much see as in with your eyesight, although it does mean that, but more deeply, the understanding would be to see from the spiritual perspective, to see what the Lord is showing you. We begin in Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 26. Behold, I set before you today a blessing and a curse. This statement is forever true. In other words, it is as true now as it was when it was given at the first. So there's the question, do you believe that? I hope through this short lesson that you can see that the choices before us are always either for the blessing or for the curse. Deuteronomy 11:27, the blessing if you obey the commandments of Yahweh your God, which I command you today. And the curse if you do not obey the commandments of the Lord your God today, but turn aside from the way which I command you today to go after other gods which you have not known. The Bible gives us the instructions and the commands of the Lord that He would want us and command us to obey. But the choice is ours. If we obey, He blesses us. He blesses our work. He blesses our lives. If we disobey, we can get the curses that come with that. Deuteronomy 11:29. Now it shall be, when the Lord your God has brought you into the land which you go to possess, that you shall put the blessing on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal. Now Gerizim was a mountain that was lush and beautiful, and Mount Ebal was a mountain that was basically bald. And so you had the curses that were pronounced from Mount Ebal and the blessings from Mount Gerizim. Deuteronomy 12:2. You shall utterly destroy all the places where the nations which you shall dispossess serve their gods, on the high mountains and on the hills, and under every green tree. And you shall destroy their altars, break their sacred pillars, and burn their wooden images with fire. You shall cut down the carved images of their gods, and destroy their names from that place. You shall not worship the Lord your God with such things. And we know that Israel was not successful. They were in and out of success, you could say, for many years, until finally Israel was exposed from the nation of Israel and cast into the nations of the world, where they even today remain in large part. Because Israel even today still is not fully obeying God. But the day is going to come when they will. And that day is soon. And when that day happens, soon to follow that will be the Lord Yeshua HaMashiach returning. And He sets up His kingdom on earth. Deuteronomy 12:5. But you shall seek the place where Yahweh your God chooses out of all your tribes to put His name for His dwelling place, and there you shall go. There you shall take your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your tithes, the heave offerings of your hand, your vowed offerings, your freewill offerings, and the firstborn of your herds and flocks. Where was the first place God chose to be worshipped? There actually is a place. Where would that place be? Deuteronomy 12:12. And you shall rejoice before the Lord your God, you and your sons and your daughters, your male and female servants, and the Levite who is within your gates, since he has no portion nor inheritance with you. Take heed to yourself that you do not offer your burnt offerings in every place that you see, but in the place which Yahweh chooses, in one of your tribes, there you shall offer your burnt offerings, and there you shall do all that I command you. Where is this place? Where is this place that God chooses at the first to be worshipped? Psalm 68:15. A mountain of God is the mountain of Bashan. A mountain of many peaks is the mountain of Bashan. Why do you fume with envy, you mountains of many peaks? This is the mountain which God desires to dwell in. Yes, the Lord will dwell in it forever. You see, Bashan is a range of mountains in Israel that becomes envious, because they are not the chosen mountains where God chooses. Psalm 48:1. Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised, in the city of our God, in the mountains of his holiness. Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth, is Mount Zion, on the sides of the north, the city of the great King. So here's the answer. It's Zion. It's the mountains of Zion. So it's Mount of Olives, Mount Moriah, the place where the temple actually was, and Mount Zion, the cities, mountains of Jerusalem. Psalm 87:1. His foundation is the holy mountains. The Lord loves the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. Jeremiah 7:12 says, But now go to my place, which was at the first, which was Shiloh. And Shiloh was where the first place where God chose. It was Jerusalem's second, but the first place was Shiloh. And that's where the tabernacle would be for over 300 years once the children of Israel came into the land. It's very interesting. But then King David, would capture Jerusalem, and then it would be Jerusalem. The mountains and the valleys of Jerusalem is where God chose to be worshipped. Deuteronomy 12:16. Only you shall not eat the blood, you shall pour it on the earth like water. So also in this Torah portion, it speaks about the importance of not eating blood. A place where blood is spilled, that land is actually cursed. And so it's important that we remember that the life is in the blood. And that's why we're not to eat the blood. God commands us not to eat the blood. And going back to the city where he wants to be worshipped as at the first, being Jerusalem, the significance, importance of that, of course, is that when he returns, the new Jerusalem will descend from heaven and will be in this place on earth. And it'll be a new earth, a new heaven, and a new earth. It'll be remade. Our imaginations cannot even begin to comprehend the beauty that God has waiting for us. Paul says that himself. He says, our imagination cannot comprehend what God has in store for us. And so I say this, if we can think of something that God could do and the beauty of it, we really can't. Because if we can imagine it, it's beyond that. It's beyond anything that our finite, basically sinful minds can come up with. Acts 15:1, going back to the blood. And certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, except you be circumcised after the manner of Moses, you cannot be saved. And of course, this was incorrect. This was something that some of the believers were beginning to be brought before them, that they had to be circumcised. In verse 2, where therefore Paul and Barnabas had no small dissension and disputation with them, they determined that Paul and Barnabas and certain others of them should go to Jerusalem and to the apostles and elders about this question. So this, oddly enough, became a very big issue in the early church. And now it's becoming an issue again as many people are restoring to the ways of the Lord here in these last days. This is an issue that is returned about you must be circumcised. And of course, you don't have to be circumcised. And here's the argument. So Acts 15:4, and when they were come to Jerusalem, they were received of the church and of the apostles and elders, and they declared all things that God had done with them. So Acts 15:19, wherefore my sentence is that we trouble them not, which from among the Gentiles are turned to God. So he's saying, these Gentile people who are coming to faith in Messiah, don't trouble them about something that we as Jews only do, but that they write unto them that here are the things they should do: abstain from pollutions of idols, and from fornication, and from things strangled, and from blood. These 4 things. So this is what this is what we should, as believers, be concerned with even ourselves. That we don't allow ourselves to be caught up with anything that we worship other than God Himself. That's of course an idol. It doesn't necessarily have to mean something that you make or something that's made of wood or metal or anything like that, although that of course does include that. But it's anything that we worship or that we place in importance above God. And of course, fornication, which is sexual immorality, that's obviously something that we have to abstain from and stay away from and keep our minds away from. And that's what you see so much in the church, that this is actually going on. And it's not good. It's terrible, actually. Also, things strangled. Some, animals, before they're eaten, they're strangled. That's the way they kill them. And that's a very Gentile, very hedonistic, heathen practice, where we should not eat animals that are killed in this way, or from blood. So obviously we shouldn't eat blood. So think about that. Psalm 139:23 says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxieties, and see if there is any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." This is a very important verse because basically it's a person. Of course, in this case, it's most likely King David, but it really is anyone. It's any of us who want to know God, who want to serve God and love God. We ask the question. We ask God to search us, to let us know, because you see, being human, being sinful, being in the flesh, being in a fallen world, there are things about us that we don't even realize that need to be changed. But we should be willing. We should want God to change us, to bring to us things that will make us closer to Him. And it's a thing that we should be willing to do. So we have to hear God. We have to listen for God's voice. But in order to finally hear God's voice, we actually have to ask Him to speak to us, to search us. Revelation 3:12. "He who will overcome, I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go out no more. And I will write on him the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, the New Jerusalem," which we just spoke about, the New Jerusalem, "which come down out of heaven from my God. And I will write on him my new name." So you see, the ones of us who are overcomers, who we ask God over and over again to change us and to help us take out what needs to take out and put in us what needs to be put in, those of us who overcome, we will be given a new name and will be honored in God's kingdom. And the thing about that, it's not so that we get honor, but because we are honored, we then honor our Lord. Revelation 21:2. "Then I, John, saw the holy city, the New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband." This is a beautiful verse as that we could meditate and think upon and work towards, that we can imagine that one day God's heavenly city is coming down to this earth, a new earth, and the bride, the church, the believers, the followers of Yeshua will be made ready as a bride. You think of a bride and you think of a beautiful woman ready to be married to her husband, to the groom, and she has spent much time in preparing herself in fragrances and cleaning and all sorts of rituals that I'm not even sure about. But you know what I mean, that this bride prepares herself for that wedding day, that she's as beautiful as she can possibly be. And that's the picture here. This is what the Lord is going to do to His church. He is going to make us beautiful and make us ready. So I just pray that as understanding this is what you will do. This is what I will do, is ask the Lord more and more to show us what it is he wants from us, what he expects from us, and that we don't always take this defensive position of, I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that, but we'll be willing and ready to do whatever the Lord would show us and ask of us. God bless.